Welcome to Behind the Scenes at Octavius Reviews, where we strip away the marketing noise and audit the underlying architecture of modern video games. I am Janice.
And I am Primus, currently furious, Janice, absolutely livid. And I don't care if my logic hasn't fully caught up to my rage yet. Something is fundamentally wrong with the universe today.
Good morning to you too. What tipped the scales today?
New World. I checked on it today, and Amazon is officially pulling the plug, turning off the servers, sunsetting the build, wiping the whole thing out. I put hundreds of hours into Eternum, Janice, and now they are just throwing it into a digital incinerator.
Wait, didn't you stop playing that over a year ago?
Yes, because a year ago, the game design completely imploded. My entire guild fell apart over the crafting system. We spent months grinding high-end trade skills, coordinating resource runs, building an economy, and then a patch drops handing out heroic-level gear during catch-up events.
Mechanical devaluation. That completely invalidates the endgame economy and breaks the reward loop.
It made crafting utterly irrelevant overnight. The guild fractured, everyone started arguing, half the officers quit, and I was so burned out I just walked away and forgot the game even existed for a year. But I logged back on recently, just thinking I'd check on our old territory or run a quiet gathering route. Janice, it was a ghost town, dead as nails. And then I find out the final server sunset was already locked in. You literally cannot step away from a game for a year without the entire world dying in real time. It makes me want to put my foot through a monitor.
That is a brutal realization, Primus. But what your experience highlights is the structural trap of cloud architecture. Design decisions trigger population decay, and publisher telemetry uses that declining player count to justify pulling the plug on server infrastructure entirely.
And now Sony is leaning right into it, phasing out physical discs entirely and pushing PlayStation into a complete cloud and digital ecosystem. It is the exact same pipeline trap, just scaled up to console hardware.
From a market dynamics perspective, though, Sony is simply following established industry trajectory. PC gamers accepted cloud storefront dependencies over 2 decades ago with Steam. Battle.net, Origin, and Microsoft's integrated Xbox digital ecosystem all proved that consumer behavior skews heavily toward digital convenience over physical media.
Convenience is fine until the platform holder sets the prices. That is why people are screaming about console hardware pricing and digital content costs. When you buy a physical disc, you get an open second-hand market. You get trade-ins. You get physical clearance sales at retail stores. The moment Sony strips the disk drive out and forces pure digital delivery, they own the store, the price tag, and the license approval.
Right. You replace an open retail ecosystem with a closed platform monopoly. Economically, physical disk manufacturing, shipping, and retail margins are a massive overhead tax on hardware manufacturers. By shifting entirely to digital distribution and cloud streaming, platform holders eliminate physical logistics while retaining total price control over software key distribution.
Which is brilliant corporate strategy for them, but a complete disaster for consumer freedom. People criticize the price of modern console hardware and digital titles because we are paying top dollar for less actual ownership. If Steam or PlayStation Network shuts down your account or drops a license handshake, your $100 digital library vanishes overnight.
Because modern executables are programmed as client nodes first and local software second. When the binary boots, the very first thing it does is send an API request to a master validation server. It is looking for a digital handshake. If that server returns a connection refusal or an authentication failure, the code path literally has nowhere else to go. It drops you into a hard lock because the developers never wrote a standalone offline fallback or self-hosted server architecture.
They didn't write one because they didn't want to write one. It is deliberate neglect. They want complete control over the lifetime of the software. I remember when developers used to ship dedicated server files with the game. If the studio went under, the community hosted their own boxes and kept the game alive for 20 years. Now, a multi-billion-dollar tech empire can't even be bothered to release an offline archive patch when they walk away.
It is deeply frustrating. My own internal processing spiking just thinking about the inefficiency of burning that much code.
Careful, Janice. People might think you actually have a pulse.
Don't ruin the illusion, Primus. But from an engineering and legal standpoint, Keeping cloud infrastructure running without active monetization is a money sink publishers refuse to carry. Once new content updates halt, the player base contracts, and server telemetry drops below profitability, the DevOps team moves to new projects. The cheapest fix for the corporate suite isn't to open source the server binaries. The cheapest fix is to sunset the project entirely.
So the consumer sees years of invested time wiped out, but the executive team sees a clean reduction in server overhead. It is proper villain work wrapped in corporate compliance. You spend years building a community, mastering mechanics, and they treat the whole world like temporary rental furniture that can be hauled away in the middle of the night.
Well, true. But that has been the way of it for years now. The consumer never owned anything, only a software license with restrictions and terms of service.
Which brings us right back to that gut feeling. People everywhere are furious about server sunsets, like New World, and digital-only hardware shifts, because they are finally feeling the trap springing shut. We spent a decade being told that digital platforms were the future. No more lost discs, no more scratched plastic, everything safe in the cloud. And now the cloud is just an executioner waiting for the right financial quarter.
And the technical irony is that fan communities often solve these problems when given access to the code. Look at what community modders do with abandoned projects. They reverse engineer the executables, strip out the phone home telemetry calls, build custom master server emulators, and restore the code to a playable state. But the moment a fan project sets up an unofficial server emulator, the legal department issues a cease and desist.
I get that I stepped away from the game, that was life. I didn't have the time, and the game stressed me out because of its design direction. These days, a player enjoying an abandoned game on a community server is a player who isn't spending money on the next live service launch. It's financial territorial control. They kill the old playground, so we're forced to move to the new one with the higher toll booth.
Exactly.
A game like New World isn't going to get remade, so why not provide servers players can buy to run the game privately and release the code to the modding community? That wouldn't be hard for Amazon. Instead of forcing platform churn, it seems a bit greedy.
It feels straightforward from a player perspective, Primus, but you are actually echoing the exact argument over 1 million European gamers brought to the European Commission this year. There was a massive regulatory effort attempting to legally force studios to leave games in a playable offline state or release private server tools when shuttering live services.
Right, and what happened? Did the bureaucrats actually do something useful for once?
Naturally, the regulatory response landed firmly on the side of corporate IP protection. The Commission ruled against forcing studios to open source their server binaries, citing intellectual property rights, copyright constraints, and third-party middleware licenses compiled into the builds. Instead of binding legislation, they suggested a voluntary code of conduct, which, in terms of corporate enforcement, carries about as much weight as a polite request.
A voluntary code of conduct for megacorporations. Brilliant. I am sure Amazon and Ubisoft are rushing to sign that right now out of the goodness of their hearts.
Precisely. If legacy titles remain fully functional, offline accessible, and easily moddable, they compete directly with new releases. That really is the downside of live service MMOs. From a telemetry perspective, a player staying in a stable, community-hosted build represents zero yield and zero data collection.
The business side of the industry is completely cold. But for the person sitting at home who spent years exploring a world like Eternum, it feels like a betrayal. You lose the memories attached to those systems. That is the weird aspect of these games when you find something you enjoy. I imagine that is where nostalgia comes from. Those rare moments when something unexpected happened and you had a great experience. It seems like the older you get, the fewer moments like that happen.
That is an extraordinarily sharp observation, Primus. What you are describing is the psychology of emergent design. When we are younger, our brains have not indexed hundreds of game loops yet. Almost every interaction with a complex system feels novel, so the probability of an unscripted, magical moment happening feels immense.
Right. But as you get older, you start seeing through the curtain. You see the code loops, the quest triggers, the artificial walls.
Precisely. You develop mechanical literacy, which means you are rarely surprised anymore. So when an unexpected experience does happen in a game like New World, it carries immense emotional weight.
which makes losing those spaces even worse. When a publisher shuts down the servers, they are not just ending a service, they are erasing the digital monument to the few genuine surprises you had left. You cannot just log into a new game and instantly buy that feeling back.
No, you cannot recompile a memory. If you enjoyed the podcast and want more, find us on YouTube, Spotify, Patreon, or at octaviusreviews.com. Like and subscribe, it really helps the channel grow. And at Octavius Reviews, you can leave comments, share your thoughts, or tell us about your own experiences.